My name is Tyson. I'm a former student of Hawkins High School for Boys. From day one, a lot of us knew something was off. We just weren't able to put our finger on it. My friend, Aaron, said, "It feels like a murderer is here. Don't know why. But if I remember correctly from Friday the 13th, someone died and haunted the grounds. Maybe that's what's happening here." Boy, I wish that was true. I hope that he was joking. That this was a perfectly fine school. But after a few of my friends went missing, the school cracked down hard to keep us safe by writing rules. We were given a paper with set rules on them. Rule number 1. If you see a custodian with the name tag of Bob, do not interact with him. He might try to interact with you, but don't. We never have had a staff member named Bob. Rule number 2. Never look at the riverbank between the times of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. You won't die, but you will wish you did. Rule number 3. If you open your locker and see a decapitated head, shut the locker and go to class. Do not touch the head or anything in the locker. Rule number 4. Do not open the doors at the end of the lunchroom. Rule number 5. If you see someone and they have no head, turn around and turn back. It will revert back to normal. Do not do a prolonged stare. Rule number 6. If lights start to flicker, hide under a table until they return to normal. This rule is very important. Rule number 7. The third floor may appear to have 2 sets of stairs. Always take the stairs on the left. If you don't, you will be stuck on the 4th floor for the rest of your life. Rule number 8. You might see drunken humans near the forest. If they start chasing you, ignore them. We don't know whether or not they are real. It is best not to find out. Being someone who doesn't believe in ghosts, I initially disregarded these rules. Really, I never believed them. Until it happened. One day, I opened my locker, and I saw the head. I wanted to touch it. I wanted to so badly, but I didn't. I slammed my locker and I went to class. That day, an announcement came on over the speaker. Students of Hawkins High School, there has been an emergency. Rule number 8 has been broken. Said student interacted with the figures and faced a fate worse than death. Before that announcement, we started with 50 students. Before Thanksgiving, it hit a very low total of 13. I remembered the rules and I marked how many students died not following a rule. I also put down the numbers of how many survivors of each. Rule number 1: 7 deaths, 0 survivors. Rule number 2: 3 deaths, 4 survivors. Rule number 3: 1 death, 0 survivors. Rule number 4: 3 deaths, 3 survivors. Rule number 5: 8 deaths, 6 survivors. Rule number 6: 5 deaths, 1 survivor. Rule number 7: 0 deaths, 3 missing. Rule number 8: 7 deaths, 2 survivors. Those survivors were unrecognizable to the point that they were on life support for the rest of their time alive. There were multiple students who broke more than one rule and lived. Some did it and died. I broke one rule. Rule number 6. I was looking for some kind of pattern, something that might be able to tell me what actually was going on, why so many of my peers were dying. And then it hit me like a truck. The death of a teacher, possibly. Hey, Aaron, what did you see when you broke rule number 2? I asked, hoping for an answer. He turned as white as a jar of mayonnaise. He started to say something but turned back around. He put his hands over his head. Was it that scary? Scary enough that Aaron, a horror enthusiast, was scared out of his mind from it. He broke down in tears. The teacher comforted him and glided him. How was I supposed to know how bad it was? I mentioned that, but I was sent to the principal's office. And then I saw him. Bob, the custodian. He looked up at me and said, "Hey, you know where the 3rd floor is?" I ignored him and kept going forward. I heard a groan and the mop. Once I got to the office, I saw the lights starting to flicker. There was a table nearby with a few boxes underneath. It happened. It was bad. Creatures came down from the ceiling. Creatures I can't put my finger on. Think of a pitch-black entity with huge claws and a mouth. It screeched and tore through the room, ignoring the tables. A few minutes later, it was gone. I heard cries and sobs from the principal's office. I went in there and there was no head. I turned away and blinked, and then turned back. It was back to normal. I had encountered 3 rules on my way down. 3. He was there, crying. Blood was everywhere. The vice principal's head lay there, on the ground. Nothing else in sight. His eyes open in terror. His mouth shocked. He looked up, saw me, and cleared up. I could see his urge to cry again. "What happened?" he said, voice breaking. I asked a friend what happened when he broke rule number 2, and the teacher made me come here. I didn't know it would be that bad," I responded, still confused. He handed me a note. Meet me here at midnight sharp. No earlier, no later. Set your phone alarm. The minute that it vibrates, yell out, I'm here. I will be there. That is how I will know it is you. I nodded and laughed. When I got back, 2 more students were missing. There are 2 more deaths for rule number 6. I remained to be the only person to not hide and live. Aaron was there. He was mortified. A long claw mark set itself upon his chest and his arm. I didn't know a human had that much blood. There is another survivor to number 6. The teacher knew the look on my face, a look that said, I know what happened, but what really happened? He yelled, Get out! Get the heck out of my classroom! And then the Bob guy appeared in the room, way in the back corner. The teacher said to him, Get this kid out. He caught himself, his face filled with horror. The custodian attacked him faster than some of the kids could scream. 1 student lost their life when they tried to intervene. We are all gonna die here, in this horrible place. I asked Aaron, Hey, we need to get out of this place. He agreed. Midnight tomorrow. Meet me outside of the doors, he responded. I have to escape, and I have a plan. At exactly midnight, I met with the principal. 24 hours until they leave. The principal whispered, When you are ready, turn around. Do not scream. That's how people die. I turned and saw the fear of my life. I swear my heart jumped out of my chest. I felt the fear around my entire body. I can feel the fear radiating off of me. If you want to know, I wish I can describe it, but it isn't easy. It was a humanoid figure, I think. 4 legs with deformed limbs, head stretched out height-wise, 4 eyes, one set on the top of the head, and the other at the bottom of the face. It was eating what looked like a body. 2 small holes for a nose, a mouth filled with hundreds of sharp and long teeth, drool dripping from its mouth, a color that I cannot describe. I blacked out. I woke up later that day with a splitting headache. This was in the principal's office. He said, I had a feeling this would happen. And then I blacked out again. I woke up again later that day, sitting in class. The teacher said, Why did you do what you did last night? You could have lost your life. Crap. I thought that was all the dream. Unfortunately not. That image is now burned in my head. I couldn't try and get the image of that thing out of my head. I need to get out of here. That night, I packed up my stuff and I did just that. At exactly 11 at night, I woke up. My alarm clock was beeping. I had to unplug it and turn it off before someone heard me. I grabbed my shoes and my coat. I didn't need much. Going down these stairs were easy. Rules 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 cannot be broken. The lake is easy to look away from. I won't need the locker. I'm leaving from the front doors. Nobody to see or to talk to. No lights. That night, though, I saw Bob, the custodian. He was mopping. Get back to your room. Do you want me to call security? I ignored him, but I took a glance at his face and I really wish I didn't. He started transforming into this creature. He got taller and his fingers grew into claws. His arms got longer. And then he let out a loud screech. I ran as fast as I could and went out the front doors. Bob hit his head on the doorframe and he fell. He didn't move or get back up. The time was now 11:55. Did 55 minutes really pass that quickly? I saw Aaron facing me. He shot his hand up and I ran to him. So, what's your plan? He asked. 20-foot tall wire fence, not electric. It'll take a few hours, but we can dig out, I responded, eyeing the shovels near the bike racks. Alright, grab a shovel. How wide should it be? He replied, alert for staff members. I calculated how wide and deep it should be to fit one of us with room to spare. About 2 feet and a foot deep. Anything less and we won't have room. You can get in, but not out, I said, being serious. We started digging. I checked my phone. 6:30 a.m. 30 minutes until the teachers started arriving. I crawled through and looked back. The school looked abandoned. Aaron followed me. The outside looked different than it did when we left. Everything felt more alive. Aaron was behind me, pumping his fists in the air. We survived, for now.